What's going on, everybody? Good late morning or early afternoon for some of you. A couple things to note. As you guys can probably tell by now, we are moving around the schedule a little bit this week. Usually this video would go up Friday morning, but since we have a game tomorrow, I don't want to be trying to post stuff about the previous game after the next game has already occurred. So we're just going to do Pass Rush Friday now, and we'll clear the deck for after this next game. We'll try to get everything that has to do with the previous game, the Giants game, out of the way before the Niners game, because once that Niners game is played, people aren't really going to be thinking about that Giants game all that much, one way or the other. So we're doing Pass Rush Friday on a Wednesday, and next week we should be back to normal. So that's number one. Number two, my stream with the Hawk's Nest for talking a little bit about the Giants game and moving on to a preview of the Niners game. That is going to be happening in about an hour from the upload of this video. So if you're watching this video within the first hour of it uploading, the stream with the Hawk's Nest will be commencing on both of our channels. Also put mine on X and Facebook. I think he puts his on his Twitch. It'll start in less than an hour here. So we had to move it because, again, we play tomorrow night, and we can't do the preview show after the game's already started. That doesn't make sense. So we know that there will probably be fewer people there than usual because people are at work. So if you have to watch that stream as a video on demand after the fact, that's totally fine too. But yeah, just to let you guys know what's going on here real quick. So let's get to our pass rush numbers. I tell you, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's not bad. These numbers actually came out pretty nicely. The pass rush, which to my eye seemed underwhelming against the Giants, actually has come out to be not that bad statistically. Actually, I'd say go so far as to call it good. Because the Giants had a balanced offensive attack. They were effective running the ball and throwing the ball. So it's not like we could tee off on anything. The Seahawks never played with a big lead where they knew the pass would come. And yet, the numbers tell you that they got pressure. I will say that I think a decent chunk of our pressures were kind of empty pressures where we got pressure, but it didn't really affect the play. But that's kind of why this segment exists, right? Because not all pressures are going to directly affect the play. Your job as a defense is to generate consistent pressure, and eventually some of them are going to affect the play. So that's kind of why I like to do this, because if you do the right thing over and over and over again, you're eventually going to get the good result. And getting a lot of pressure is certainly the good thing, and the good result of big plays should follow. Let's go ahead and jump right in here, starting on the defensive line. Jarran Reed leads the way. I mean, there's really not much else to say this week. Leonard Williams was back, and he played a lot. Didn't really do that much. PFR didn't give him anything. I think PFF gave him one, but I used the PFR numbers, as you guys know. So Reed led the way, and I mean, he played a really good game. He had 4 pressures of Daniel Jones. Miles Adams added 1, but you got nothing from Hankins and nothing from Morris. So will not go away, people. Cannot shake it. But yeah, it's still not bad, right? Like, if you get 5 pressures in a game from your defensive line, you're not the worst off. Now, I would say that it does speak to the fact that we need to get some of these guys back, and we need some of these guys to lock in a little bit more. But 5 pressures from your defensive line in a game, and remember, we're talking about this defensive line that usually lines up with 2 down linemen on a vast majority of their defensive snaps. Like, that's not bad at all. These guys are getting double-teamed constantly. These guys are getting ganged up on by blockers. Okay, so that's your defensive line. Let's get to the linebackers. It was actually really good from these guys. Whatever you can say about Jerome Baker and Tyrell Dodson as all-around players in this game, I personally thought Baker played pretty well. I didn't think Dodson played well. There was some stuff in coverage that I didn't really like. The run defense was very, very questionable. A lot of plays where you had 2 linebackers in the same gap A lot of plays where they were just out of place. They got pressure, and you can see that McDonald is kind of ramping up the blitz rate a little bit here. He's not sending the kind of blitzes that I thought he would and that I want him to get to eventually, but that's probably going to be a little bit of a process here. We're not going to do that overnight. So Jerome Baker had 2 pressures, including a sack. Dodson had 2 pressures, including a sack. So, hey, we're cooking a little bit there, right? That's encouraging to me. If you can get 2 pressures from each of your inside linebackers in a game, you did something pretty good. Now, we need those guys to start playing better all-around football, but in this area, and that's what this video is about, yeah. Okay, let's move to the edge rushers here. And again, this is where I continue to say, like, when you actually look at the raw numbers, the actual pressure data, it's pretty good. Uchenna Nwosu, first game back from an injury, only plays 20 snaps, gets a pressure. Okay, I'll admit that he didn't look all that explosive. I'm worried about Nwosu a little bit long term. Is he going to be able to get back to what he was in 2022? I don't know. He gets 1 pressure, understandable. Derek Hall continues to eat, another 4 pressure game, his 3rd of the year already. He is producing in every single game he plays. Really, really cool stuff. And good thing we have him, because if we didn't have him, we'd probably be cooked tomorrow night. We might be cooked anyway, but at least Derek Hall gives us something. Well, I shouldn't even say that, because we don't even know if he's going to play or not as of me recording this video. But just in general, it would feel like we were cooked if we didn't have Derek Hall. We'd be back to what we had last year with Boye and Draymond trying to hold it down, and we pull Frank Clark off the bench trying to get something out of him. Yeah, it would have been bad. Draymond Jones had 1 pressure, which, again, 60 snaps, 1 pressure. It's not really cutting it. I will say that I think people are a little bit hard on Draymond Jones. He shouldn't be playing this much. He shouldn't be playing edge rusher this much. He has to because of the situation. So I'm not going to kill the guy like a lot of people do, but 60 snaps, 1 pressure is not really going to ingratiate you to your fan base. It's just not. Travis Gibson, nothing, and Tyus Bowser's gone. So that's 6 pressures from your edge group. I mean, we are in line with the first 3 games of the year when we were all very happy with the pressure rates. Nothing from the cornerbacks. Witherspoon was sent on the blitz a couple times in that game for sure, but didn't get home, which was very frustrating because it felt like our pressures were telegraphed, which is exactly what we're trying to get away from. So we know McDonald can do it. It's not like it's a McDonald thing, right? It's not like blitzes were telegraphed when he was on the Ravens. So blitzes being telegraphed here, it tells you that it might be the players. And, we're going to give the players time to figure this out. But it feels like when we blitz these corners, it's a little bit transparent. I'll put it to you that way. Nothing from the safeties either. Still nothing from the safeties on the season, which, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it's a little bit, how should I put this? It's a little bit concerning. No, that's not the word. I don't know. It's something, right? We're 5 games in. We haven't gotten a single quarterback pressure from a safety yet. Like, that's not what I thought we were going to be dealing with this year. I'll put it to you that way. And you get 15. And 15, I mean, that's actually a really good number for a balanced game. We were not playing a team that had to drop back and throw it 60 times. We were not playing a game against a team that has a paper-thin offensive line. Like, the Giants actually have a decent offensive line this year. It's at least average. So 15 pressures, okay, you got something going there. 3 sacks, that's not a bad total either, but it felt like the pressure wasn't affecting the play often enough. And again, that could just be kind of bad luck. That could be kind of an aberration. It could be indicative of something problematic. We're going to need some time to figure this out, but in terms of the raw data, yeah, this is pretty darn agreeable. 15 pressures in a game where the score is consistently close. You're never ahead by more than 1 score, and the other team is never in a must-pass situation. You will swallow that up no problem most of the time. Kind of shocking to see a number this big and to know the result was so bad, honestly. All right, So I'm gonna get out of here. Stream in an hour. Don't know how long we'll go. Probably a couple hours. Gonna talk about the Giants game, Niners game. Be there, and if you can't be there, watch the video on demand. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Thanks for tuning in, and to bigger and better things.